Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to start today. We're going to really talk about today few elements. We talk about project constraints, and then we're going to really talk about, this is really important in terms of Prince2, 7 principles of Prince2, and then the 7 themes of Prince2. What is the relationships between these two? What I mean is a comparison of principles and themes, and Prince2 organizational structure. This is, if you really look at the organizational structure, just please pay attention to it. This is part of your coursework that I'm looking for. So I will explain what we mean by that, okay? So here, what we're talking about in here is the iron triangle, the scope, the schedule, and the cost. So what is the significance of this, what we call iron triangle? Okay. This is regarding about balancing constraints. So the scope or quality, the time or the schedule, and the cost, okay, in terms of the budgeting or the resources available to you are the things which we really, it's important to really look at it. So say, for example, if a client really needs or asks you additional features, what does it actually mean? That is, we are increasing the scope. If we increase the scope, what are the implications? That might really lead into an increase in costs, okay, and an extension of the project's timeline. So it really affects both the cost and the schedule. So what we're talking about here is to show for any client the relationship between the scope, what you really want to achieve in terms of the cost and the schedule is a trade-off. Okay, if you really want to, for example, decreases the time required to complete the project, the scope and the cost will be affected. That is the relationship. So it is always a trade-off. If people say, yeah, I want this project to be finished early, it's going to cost more, we might really reduce the scope. What I mean is it might really reduce what we're really doing or the quality of it, okay? Those are the kinds of the trade-off. So these are the key elements as a project manager you need to communicate. Okay? There's no free lunch in here if people really want us to do that. If they want us to increase scope, there is an implication on cost, okay? There is an implication on the time required to complete that. And when you really increase the scope, sometimes what happens is now you're really increasing the things that you really need to do. The skill set required, most probably you might not really have. So you might really need to bring additional resources from outside. Okay, this is the people with special skills. That is going to cost more. So this is a trade-off. Okay, those are the kinds of things that you really need to really have a look at it. So the triangle offers this, the iron triangle gives you sort of a visual representation, okay? How this scope, cost, and schedule are intertwined, okay? So this is the quick way to show stakeholders that you cannot just change one element without affecting the others. So as a project manager, what is your role in here? Setting expectation, okay? So you're really setting out expectation to your clients. Okay, you say, look, this is what is really expected. Okay, this is the scope. If you change in the scope, it's gonna be, the cost is gonna be likely to increase. We really likely to require more time to really complete it. So what is the key element in here is how do we know that we have really increased the scope or the resources or the time? This is regarding about monitoring and control systems, what we have really discussed last week, interlinked in here. As project progresses, managers can use the concepts, these concepts, okay, encapsulated in the iron triangle to monitor deviation. What it means is at the beginning, your project brief is going to give me, this is the scope, this is how much it's going to cost, this is how long it's going to take, okay? And then once we really set out that, okay, in terms of scope, we're going to really look at quality. It's not about the things which we're going to really do, but the level of quality required, how we're going to measure that quality of the things we did or produces is key elements in there. So we're going to really monitor the scope of it in terms of the quality and the things that we really need to cover, the amount of money, okay, how we really manage, not only manage in terms of the cost in here. Remember, our resources are included in there. The people who are working with you are your asset. How do you really actually monitor that? You're not going to really give for people overtime again and again, and then you burn them. Then, it will not really able to really function properly. So you really need to manage those kinds of elements in here. So your monitoring and control is you're monitoring to the level which you set out these other requirements that you're going to satisfy. What happens when that monitoring indicate that you are outside the set out criteria at the beginning, and then you have to really take some level of control. As a project manager, the board has delegated you. What it means is they have given you the authority to certain level. The scope, say for example, the budget, you can manage it until 5 plus or minus % of the budget baseline. If the baseline is about 1,000, then you have to really show 5% of that you can manage it. Beyond that, you're not authorized to do so. You have to pass that to the project board, particularly to the executive. The executive of the board is the one who make a decision in terms of value for money, okay? What it means is if you really exceeded that money, we're going to talk about it in terms of it, principles, okay? Is the business case you set out is still there? What it means is when you really set out, this is the cost, this is the benefit. If the cost really exceeded, okay, increases drastically, and when you compare it to benefit, if the cost is higher than the benefit, will that project is viable to continue? That is the big questions in terms of it. So the monitoring and control of the project is a key essential, okay, in terms of managing the project. So what happens is now, the other element is as a project manager, you need to do is a sort of communication. You have to communicate for all stakeholders, including one, managing expectation, okay, and then in terms of the progresses, how much you're really progressing in that project, how much is going to cost you. So those are the key elements that you need to communicate based on your assessment. Who need to be communicated every week? Who need to be communicated every month? Who need to really communicate it on a daily basis in terms of the communication between managers and stakeholders? Okay, if you really have any questions, please let me know, okay? I'm happy to respond. Scope. So this is increase in scope can lead increased in time as discussed, okay? So increased cost, better or worse performance, increase in resources, increase or decrease in value. So we're not really sure in terms of that, okay? If you're really doing it sort of, you increase the scope means you might not really have got the resources to really provide the quality level that's required for that. So you might really decrease the value of the product you're really producing. Okay. Once is tight time constraint can lead to increase the costs. What it means is you might not be able to finish the product as predicted. So you might really require more resources. What it means is you're employing a lot of people or bringing a very expensive tool, okay, to deal with that, then that is going to cost more, okay? So you might really reduce the scope because you have to really finish quickly. You say, oh, we can't really do everything what we plan to, so we're going to really reduce this one, okay? So this is in terms of the performance, that might really reduce the performance of the product you're really producing. So that is the increase in resources and reduces, there is a possibility reduces value. In terms of cost, if you really tight budget constraint. So here what we're talking about is you cannot constrain all three elements at the same time. You cannot constrain the scope, the time, and the cost. If you do so, the moment you really, the scope increases, or the time really requires, or the cost, say, for example, your key resource, you key, for example, software programmer didn't turn up, that is going to increase the time. Okay, so those are the kinds of things you really need to manage. Resources, unskilled. If you have got unskilled, okay, less or faulty source resources. Say, for example, the software you're really working or any hardware you're really using, if it is will affect the quality of the product. So the quality of the resources really matters as well. Okay, it's not only about the human skills, it is all the other elements that you are really choosing. Okay, if you're really choosing less quality resources, so you're gonna really at the end reduce the performance of the product you are producing. You might really be able to reduce this value. It's gonna cost you higher cost and short of the scope. Those are the kinds of things. In terms of the performance, the stringent performance measure can lead to increased time. So what it means is, where is the trade-off in here? Okay, so the performance is, if it is really a high level, most probably you really require a lot of times to really finish that. This high level performance requires high level of quality. High level of quality means high increased scope, and that increased scope really is going to be increased costs. So this is in terms of increase or decrease in resources, in terms of performance. That might really to do with if you have got a high performing new tools which you really find you might not really require the resources which you really plan for. So this is implication is we really don't know. It might really, excuse me, increase or decrease its value. So the value which you're really getting from the product is the expected value. So it might really measure can lead to increased scope or increased time. So that value, the increased level of it, what it means is a high value requires a high level of scope. What it means is a high level of quality. Those are the kinds of things. Okay, it's really to do that a high quality. You need to be not to be able to finish it, as planned. You might really increase the time. That is really increase the time means increased cost. So it's demand for better resources in terms of the human skill you require as well as other resources. And the performance is not really guaranteed in there. Okay, let's see what you think of this. If you go to onmenti.com and use this code, and what do you think of the answer for the what does project complexity, when does project complexity increases? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that is correct. Almost all of you have selected that. What does it means in terms of this complexity? When scope is broad or changing, deadlines are tight, budgets are limited, quality requirements high, and resources are scarce. So a broad or changing scope increases complexity due to more objective and potential for scope creep. Tight deadlines add pressure and require meticulous scheduling. Limited budgets necessitate careful cost management and prioritization. In terms of quality, high quality requirements demand rigorous process and oversight. Performance, ambitious goals may require advanced technologies and specialized expertise. In terms of resource, constrained resources require complex allocation and efficient utilization of those efficient. So this is again taking back to the iron triangle. So adapting to the environment, there are enormous differences in scale between small and large projects. We were gonna have a look at in terms of Prince2 methodology, how Prince2 can be adopted for both, okay, large and small projects in terms of the environment. Now let us go to the 7 principles of Prince2 projects. Okay, if you really have a look at this in terms of the project management, what it really means, continued business justification, okay? At the beginning, what we said is we have a brilliant idea that's gonna really be beneficial for the organization. You say, okay, and that brilliant idea, we're gonna say, is gonna be advantageous for the organization. So we created what we call a project brief. That project brief is telling us, this is the amount it's gonna cost. This is brilliant business case, okay? Will be advantageous for the organization. And we're gonna really say, this is the cost, this is the time it requires, this is the scope. That project brief goes to the project board for approval. As a project manager, that is the first thing you really do, okay? And then you're gonna send it, it's gonna cost us 1 million. The amount of, in 3 years time, this project will really give us a return of 3 million. So such as, you know, the business case is so tight and really excellent return for investment. Now, once we really send that, what happens now? We start setting out. Once it is approved, we're gonna create what we call PID, project initiation document. That project initiation document is gonna really give us a lot more detailed, okay, plan for the project. What kind of plan is going to do? This is a plan from start to finish. And in this plan, we have got stages. On each stages, we're gonna have a breakdown of that plan, what we call stage plan. At each stage, we're gonna really set out what kinds of tasks we're gonna really do, what kinds of part of the product is gonna be produced in that, okay, period. Okay, so in that period, we're gonna really look out in terms of the planning and execution and monitoring and control. So when you're really driving that PID, what we're gonna really do is, what do we know so far from our knowledge? What we're gonna really bring from our previous experience? Okay, the use history. This is when we really created this project. These are the key elements that we learn. Okay, and then that really important to really for us to base our prediction how our project is going to go through the PID. We're gonna really, build our assumption based on historical knowledge and data we have. So in the principles, what we're saying is that what we're telling you in terms of the projection, this is how we're going to do it. This is the project monitoring, control, resource management. Everything what we're going to have is based on the things we learned in our past history, the things which we record. What it means is this is a sort of a data-driven based knowledge. That is what we're going to start to really have to predict that. So in those kinds of things is really important. What the principles in 3 is going to be is define the roles and responsibilities. Principle 2 really emphasizes that when you're really part of a project, you have to have a clearly defined roles. One of the things which we're gonna really talk about project brief in here is you are going in your coursework to tell us those project briefs, okay? Those project board members from your scenario. You're going to say, I am assigning this person for project senior executive. And the thing now is when you really assign it, what are your justification? What is the quality of that person? Okay, really, entail them to become, in your opinion, okay, these are the people which are. So you need to really have the justification presented in there. If you are just telling me, I'm going to really assign X for this one without really telling me any justification, that really reduces your mark. So you need to have justification. The next one is you're going to senior user. Okay, the senior user look after the interest of users who are going to use this product or services you're creating through your projects. What are the quality of that person? Okay, need to be to advocate for the interests of the user for your product. The other one is the project senior supplier. These are the people who really knows about the technology, what fits in there, what kinds of technology need to be really used, what are the options, the availabilities. These are the people with a technical know-how regarding about the product or the service you are trying to really produce. So you're going to really assign these people in that, okay? So Prince 2, you need really define roles. Even after, during that, when you really, in this exercise, you might not really do that, but your team leader need to really be knowing exactly what each people which you are really assigning as a staff member to work on your project need to become with a certain roles, whether it is a programmer, okay, infrastructure engineer. All these roles that you really assign requires the skill sets by these people who are going to be assigned. Are these really available for you? Most probably not in the scenario, but that is the expectation as a project manager. You need to really know exactly who to appoint to make sure that the quality of the staff you have is going to really produce the quality you require, okay? What we are trying to do here is the avoidance of rework. What do you mean rework? We produce something, okay? Say, for example, I designed a database, and I'm going to really look at it, the response times of the database. If it is very, very slow, I have to really go, or somebody has to really go and redesign the schema of the databases, okay, to make it faster and better. That is what we mean by a rework. But if you really bring a sort of a high skilled person, you don't need to do the rework. Rework costs us a lot of money, okay? It slows down your project time. So it is really essential when you really assign roles. Similarly, when you are really bringing resources, it doesn't really matter whether if you are really, say, for example, putting a website on a cloud or in-house or anywhere, the amount, the resources, the infrastructure you are really putting is dependent on the quality you're really producing, okay? So the next is we're gonna really manage by stages. At each stages, as we said, we will have stage plan. That stage plan, what is it? It is a milestones, okay? Say we are really producing, say for example, a website. One of the milestones most probably might really be the design and implementation of a database. And that database really is a milestone. At the end of it, I should really know how long it's going to take, who is going to do it, how much money it is costing me, okay? But what I haven't really decided now is I'm going to do what we mean by manage by exception. Now the stage is, I'm going to really do the database. That is a milestone, okay? Week 2, week 3, that need to be completed. What are the exceptions? What it means is now, what level of quality you are assigning to that database? What is the likelihood of response time? Say for example, if I really retrieve data from it, how long is going to take, okay? And now, that is what we mean is by setting the quality of the products you're producing. And that is what we mean by exception. If I didn't really satisfy that exception, that means the quality is lower. If the quality is lower, the board who delegated me to run this project are telling me that if the exceptions are below what is really specified, you have to go back to the board, okay? The project manager has no authority to really continue with a low quality product. So we have to go there and say, okay, really to increase that, we might really need new technology or another highly skilled person to really do that. That is going to be involved with what? Involved with money, involved with additional time. Once you really do say, okay, yeah, you need to do that, if the board approves, and then you remember what we were talking about the stage level, you have to go back and plan for your stage again, okay? So for that rework, for that when the exceptions appear. So at each stages, before you go to the next stage, in the stage assessment, it needs to be conducted. In the stage assessment, what it's telling us is that, hey, this is the problem if it exceeds the budget, okay? So say, for example, on the second stage, 50% of the work need to be completed. And then you're gonna really look at the budget. If I really use 90% of the budget, only completing 50% of the work, I'm in trouble as a project manager. So at each stage, when you are reporting back to the board responsibility is a sort of governance and compliance, okay, and control. You cannot exceed your role, okay, what you are really delegated for. In that case, at each stages and at each exceptions, you need to really react, okay? So those are the kinds of things you really need to do. So 6 is talking about focus on product. It is the product. As a project manager, you have your own planning, how you're gonna really manage your project, okay? But the big thing is that you need to really focus is the product you are producing, okay? Everything needs to be geared to that. The last one is tailor-made to suit the project environment. What it means is it doesn't really matter the project sizes. Okay, Prince2 can really be used for small project or for a very large project. Okay, but what it is entailing is that we need to have a governance, compliance, and control mechanisms when we are really doing a project. Any questions on this before I continue to the next one? Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Is one of the team members responsible for the governance and the compliance of the project?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a specific role?
Well, these are the three people which are really looking after what we call is the project board. The project board consists of three people. One is the senior user who looks after the user interest in terms of the product or service produced. The next person is the senior executive who are really knows about budgets, who knows regarding about value for money, who decided whether we have to really continue with the project based on that financial assessment. The third person is the senior supplier who knows about the technical elements, what is really need to really go, what kinds of resources we need to do, what kinds of quality need to be produced. So these three people form what we call a project board. And the project board are the people who are really run the governance, compliance, and control mechanism. As a project manager, you are delegated by them to run the project on their behalf. Okay, and then your role is you're gonna manage your project by stages. Okay, and then you're gonna have to allocate teams under that. All these teams will have their own staff. The team managers will have teams under them to produce the products you are really working on. So you are monitoring on stage level and the exception level as a project manager to report back to the project board. So the project board is the governance in terms of the look after the project. That makes sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other question? Okay, so these are the 7 themes of Prince2. So the business case in here is defining the project's objectives, benefits, and justification. Why we really need to do that. Those are the kinds of things in terms of your business case. This includes cost-benefit analysis, risk assessment, and return on investment. What we're talking about is, if you have got about 5 projects proposed to you, say, for example, you are a member of the board. Okay, you are, say, senior executive. You have the last say which product or which project should be, invested on. So these are the key elements that you really need to do. You need to do the sort of the cost benefits analysis presented by the project manager. And then you're going to really look at return on investment. If it is 1 million I'm investing, how much I'm getting from the product in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 3 years? Is it really better, say, for example, I can compare it to, say, if I put it in a bank, what we call it is time value of money, I'm going to get interest, right? At the end of the year, I'm going to get, say, for example, 5% of 1 million or 6% of 1 million. If the return on investment is 3%, will you still go for that project? That is a senior executive. That really, you need to really look at the return on investment to make a determination. What is the organization in here? This is what I talked regarding about. Define the roles, responsibilities, and authorities of the project team. This is establishing a project governance structure. Who have got the last say? Okay. So this is including the project board, project manager. So the project manager has responsibility as well, monitoring and managing the project, the team managers, and the work done by the team. Okay. So what is the quality we're really talking about in here? So we're gonna really define the quality of the product. Are we going to use any standards? Okay, we might really be. Say, for example, the International Standard Organization have got many standards on many products. Are we going to use one of those standards? So what we're going to do is we have to really establish quality management process, including, how do we do that? Including reviews, inspection, and testing. If the product satisfies that testing. Remember the example which I really give earlier. If I really design and implement a database, I have to really make, sure that it responds within a certain period of time. That I need to do testing, okay? And if the test really verifies that it doesn't really satisfy the quality level set out, then this raises what we call an exception. The quality produced is not sufficient, good enough for the product. That's what we mean. Okay, so this is the themes on quality is telling us that the plans. So this is develop and maintain various project plans. What we mean by here is we have to have a plan for the whole project. We have to have a stage project. What it means is on each stages, we need to have a plan. What are we gonna do there? How much is gonna cost that? All that things need to be there, okay? And in each elements, in each stages, we need to have what we call a work package. The work package is this work package will really enable us to produce this product, okay? Those are kinds of plans. So the project is planned and managed effectively. What it means is at each time, at each stages, we know exactly what product is going to be produced through the work packages, and that work package will be linked to the roles, the people who are really doing that work. Okay, that is going to be linked to the stage plan, and the stage plan is linked to the whole project plan. Okay, so a delay in one of the things will delay the others. So if you delay the work package's completion, you're going to delay the stage plan. And the stage plan delay will really create the overall project plan, okay, delay, okay? So those are the kinds of things. In terms of risk, you're going to have assessment of the risks available, possible risks on the project. So you need to do manage projects. So you really need to design risk management plan. That risk management plan is going to really do assesses the risks in terms of qualitative and quantitative methods. And then if it identifies risks that are, say, for example, risks, you might really assess them based on probability. The chance of happening that is how much. And if it happens, what is the level of impact? If it has got, say, for example, if a risk has a high impact and a high probability, you have to have a strategy, a mitigating strategy. And then you have to really have some kinds of contingency plan. If this happens, I'm really gonna have this. Say, for example, a simple example is you're gonna have car insurance. You're not anticipating to have accident, but if it happens, that is what we contingency plan. You are passing, hey, you know what? Yeah, this is unpredictable. Okay, I cannot really risk it. I am passing the risk to a third party, to an insurance. Okay, if that happens, they're gonna pay out. If it doesn't, I'm gonna really cover myself. So you need to have that contingency plan. in terms of change, what happens in terms of change management? Okay, what happens in this change management? We're talking about, the project scope we set out? Yes. What happens if it really changes? What happens when the schedule we planned for at the beginning? Yeah. How do we really manage that change if the schedule or a budget changes? This is in terms of managing the process. So here, what we are setting out is we have to establish a change control processes to ensure the changes, okay, are approved and implemented in an effective way. Okay, so we have to really have that processes set up. The budget increase or the schedule or the project change need to be managed. Okay, for that you need to really have change management processes. Last but not least is regarding about progresses, is regarding about the work package level monitoring and control. And then from the work package, you go up one stage, so stage level monitoring and control. Okay, and that really gives us that stage level. There are two elements. One is the stage level, the other one is exception. Exceptions means, say, for example, a work package is completed, and that work package is, we're gonna really test it. Has it really satisfied the quality level of it? If it is not, it raises exception. Okay, and to do that, you have to really have the progress plan. How do you really monitor and control the project progresses? What tools you're gonna really use for monitoring? What tests you're gonna set out for each products and services that you're going to really do to make sure when you are really progressing, you are progressing with high quality product you aim to really produce at the end. So you need to really report a project status to stakeholders. This is, you have to really manage your communication through your monitor and control systems. Okay, these are the 7 teams. Any questions on this? Okay. So what we're gonna do is, this is comparison between the principle and the theme. So what we're talking about is continued business justification as a principle. The theme for Prince 2 is business case. The relationship with the business case provides the justification for the project and ensure it aligns with the organizational goal. I think at the first lecture, we talk about organizational goals, strategic goals, especially the relationship between a project and strategic goals. Go and have a look at that, the importance of it. Remember that what we said is, when you're producing a project, the project is normally to satisfy organizational strategy or strategic goals. Sometimes the project which we created can change the organizational strategy itself, as exemplified in previous cases. Okay. Now, the principle is role definition and responsibility. This is the key element in Prince 2. So this is, the team is explained in organization. The organization team serves the roles, responsibilities, and authorities of the project team. Okay, these are the people who really manages, okay, controls, and look after the governance of the project execution. Now, fit for purpose in terms of the principles, that is a quality, okay? What we really need to do, they are important. We have to really do that. The quality team define the standard requirement for the project deliverable. So this is really important in terms of the theme. Say tailoring, this is all teams. What we mean is that this is focusing on the size of the project, okay? So I have already explained regarding managed by exception, progress, risk, and change. These are the key elements of it. So if a risk arises, what it means is you're gonna raise exception. In progresses, you monitor and control, and the change management in terms of when the budget changes, or the time schedule, or the scope changes. In terms of focus on deliverables, business case, what it is telling us is the business case is continuously monitored throughout the project lifecycle. What it means is even at the end, you might really assess if this project business case is still viable, valid, okay? So early involvement of stakeholders, organizational business case change. So those are the kinds of things which you really need to do in terms of stakeholders or comparing it, the principles and the teams. Now, so these are what we're talking about in here is the corporate or program management. This is a high level management for organization, especially this is big organization. What it means is the corporate or program management, these are very senior members of the organization who look after multiple projects. Just under them, what we see is a project board. In terms of the customer, what we call talking about senior user or executive and the senior supplier. So these are the project board, 3 roles, okay? As explained earlier, the senior user is the person who looks after the customers. The senior executive is regarding looking after customers, as well as what we're talking about is value for money here, okay? The return on investment. That senior executive really aware of that. That is the role. In terms of senior supplier is just the knowledge and the skills requirements for that particular project. The person who have got all that skill set. So there in the middle, you've got a project manager, and the project manager really looked after the team managers. What we call it on the left side, the project assurance is the people who comes and measure the level of quality. If I'm a project manager and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to really measure my own quality work, what it means is I'm just marking my own homework. Doesn't work like that. So you have to really bring people's, simply the reason is that you have an invested interest in there. There is going to be a conflict of interest. You are a project manager at the same time measuring quality. So you're going to really bring people who are not really participating in a project to measure level of quality. What it means is the project assurance. It assures that this project is going as planned, as specified, the level of quality, okay, agreed on. So the project support is, these are the teams who are really expert in project management, who really provide the support in terms of how the project manager. The project manager is not going to really be expected to have all the skill set required to run that. Say, for example, in terms of budgeting, you might really require support. So the project support team, okay, who have got a lot more in terms of the knowledge base, the skill set, will assist project manager, okay, to enable him or her to execute their responsibility. In this case, the project support team is a place for new project managers really to learn what it really means to be a project manager. Okay, so the Prince 2 project board, executive oversight, create a program management, so value for money, budget and priority, executive in here, senior user, customer, user requirement, system testing and acceptances, senior supplier, technical advice and standards. So the project support in here. So this is a sort of overall responsibility, how that is really divided. So the board employee has two bosses. In normal circumstances, you might really have got a number of projects going on. Project A, Project B, Project C. So people might really, electrical engineer might really participate in Project A and Project C. So you are reporting for a number of project managers as well as your own regular manager in there. Okay. Similarly, for the electrical, for other elements in here. Okay. So now here we're looking at program management. Where is the program management? I'm gonna really look how what it really means. Now we have got a number of projects running at the same time. What we call it program management. The program management have got a common objective. What have got common objectives are these projects have common objectives. Okay, so these common objectives are managed by program management. Okay, whether that common objectives, if project A doesn't satisfy, what happened to the other projects? Okay, so they're going to have shared resources. Okay, so this program management is going to really look at it. Okay, this is the common objectives that need to be really satisfied. You might really say that projects really comes in different flavors, the one on top of the other. If one doesn't really satisfy, it will have an impact on other projects. Okay, so this is a sort of a family of projects, okay, aiming to achieve a common objectives as a program manager. Okay, in here, what we are looking now is program management. Okay, so the program management focus on a group of related projects that are collectively deliver a strategic outcome in here or a benefit. Okay, so the objective is to achieve a specific strategic goal or a business objective. Okay, so through the coordinated delivery of multiple projects, that is project A, B, and C. So the focus is align projects with the overall program strategy and ensures they contribute to the desired outcome. So this requires governance, typically involves program board that provide oversight and decision-making authority. So they have to have that common objective to achieve. You need that governance who look after all these things. On the other hand, the portfolio management is above the project management. Okay, what is the portfolio management looking after is oversees a collection of programs and projects that contribute to the organization overall strategic objective. So portfolio management is the overall output of all the projects. You remember we were talking about Google's projects, a sort of a different project, which really changes the organizational structure and brings a new project organizational structure and strategic for Google's. So these are the kinds of what we're talking about, the portfolio management. Okay, so this is a sort of a collection of programs and projects that contributes organization overall strategic objective. I have talked about this strategic objective before. They're gonna really be the projects can really change the strategic objective of the organization itself. Okay, there's gonna be a feedback. So those are the kinds of things. So this is the objective, is to optimize the allocation of resources and prioritize projects to achieve the organization strategic goals. So which program management need to go first? Okay, so the focus is ensure that the portfolio of projects align with organization strategic direction and maximizes return on investment. So the governance is often involves a portfolio board or steering committee that provides strategic guidance and direction. So the program management sits with portfolio management. Okay, so the portfolio management oversees multiple programs, with each program manager focuses on delivering a specific strategic outcome. So the portfolio management ensures that programs are aligned with the organization's strategic objective and that resources are allocated effectively. So in terms of program management, it ensures that individual projects within program are coordinated and contribute to the overall program outcome. Okay, so in a sense, program management is a subset of portfolio management. Okay, so portfolio management provides the strategic context. Okay, the alignments of all these project managements to the strategic alignments of the organization. Okay, so these are the key elements of it. Okay. Okay, you can use menti.com. Okay, yeah, that's really good. Okay, so you're really aware of what really needs to be done. Just to make sure that you're really following these things. That's what it is all about. Okay, so in terms of project management plan structure, we're gonna really have in terms of scope management. You have to really do schedule management, cost, quality, human resource. So these are the key elements in terms of the management of elements in terms of the project structure. So is there any difference between project plan and project management plan? Excellent. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so in terms of project plan, this is sort of program plan, project plan. You're gonna have a stage plan and a team plan there. So there are a lot of plans that you really need to do that. So what is the exception plan? Exception plan is what happens if the quality measure is not really attained. Okay, that needs to be in that plan for each stages. Okay, and here project planning, this is about product breakdown structure, product flow diagram, activity network, financial budget, resource requirement, risk assessment, quality plan, Gantt charts, product descriptions for major products. So what we're talking about is this is a part of the project planning element of it. So you're gonna have the product breakdown structure. I think most probably next week we're gonna really touch regarding about product breakdown structure and product flow diagram, what it really means. in terms of planning your scheduling, your resources, heavily dependent on the creating the work packages, depends heavily on the product breakdown structure. The product breakdown structure gives you the order at which those products need to be produced, assembled, and come to life as a whole product or services. So in that case, the order at which tasks need to be done, okay, products that need to be produced, really gives us a clear picture of where to start and where to finish in terms of it. Okay, so activity network is going to tell us what it is all about. So in terms of the breakdown of in terms of the tasks, what we need to develop the scope of a task boundaries on what is to be completed. Defining the goal or deliverables is key. Setting realistic time frames for a task to ensure enough time. How do we find out? Say, for example, if a task has never been done, how do we really go about in terms of allocating realistic time? Okay, so there are methodologies in terms of how to really approach this. Okay, you gotta really have a look at tasks that have got similar complexities, similar sizes. Okay, so there are ways to really realistically estimate in terms of the time frame. So staff skill set evaluation. This is really important in terms of the tasks. So subdivide into smaller parts to better understand each piece. Human resources have better perceptions of their workload when seen as smaller part. The work breakdown structure is great for defining and organizing of tasks and projects. The smaller part allows for better control, better resource alignment, better coordination. Okay, so the smaller the part, the easier it becomes. So that task, you really need to do it. What is the objectives, work to be carried out, the methods, the tools you require, the standards to be followed, the efforts allocated, the project both deliverable and intermediate, the completion criteria. So what is the completion criteria? Are we going to test it, evaluate it? What are we going to do with the quality measuring there? So the kind of things that we really need to do, okay? So managing tasks, ensure that we get completed, but leading is supporting the staff in what they need to complete tasks. Develop a process of being organized. Organization is key to completing effectively. So understanding and developing the tasks so you are aware of the details can assist the staff. Human resource skills set a good place to evaluate the allocation and qualification of staff trying to complete tasks. So you have to really know exactly the product breakdown task is going to tell us, okay, this is a part of the product I'm going to produce. What kind of skill set required for that? And then you're going to really ask, okay, this person has got that skill set. So that person will be allocated to that element. How long it's going to take? And then that person, how much is going to cost us? So if we know exactly, okay, that staff member is going to cost us $40 or £40 an hour, and then that person is going to work for 3 hours. We know exactly how much that task is really costs us. So we're going to really add up all these tasks to really figure out what is the total. In terms of now, we are talking about from work packages into stage level, and then if we really add all the stages, we're going to get a sort of the project level total cost in terms of the human resource cost and in terms of other resources required to do the project. So you have to really manage. Okay, let me just go back to this. Some staff sees assignment other than their normal work as opportunity to learn and broaden their skill. Some staff see these types of assignment as punishment and resent the work. So whose work is this one? Whose responsibility is to make sure that staff don't really feel like that. This is the responsibility mainly your project manager. If you are a project manager, you have to really encourage people to really participate. And I think you have to really appreciate their participation and encourage them to really take personal responsibility in terms of the achievements, make them that they are part of that team. Maintain human resource work balance. Okay, in terms of job satisfaction and the amount of work you are allocating is really important. If you're really allocating a few people's, for or a series of overtime, you might really create a burnout. So you have to really avoid that kind of assignment. So lines of communication and lines of development, and then the project sponsor. This is regarding about if you are really say whether you are internal or external. This is if you are coming from external as a project manager, and then you are really working for a company, that is going to be your project sponsor, and the project sponsor have got users who's going to really be participating in there. So you're going to really look at, as a project manager, you're going to have people under you who's going to really work as risk manager, understand what the risks are for that project, look after that. So you might really employ regarding about analysis, regarding business analysis, system analysis, what they have, advising them how to do it. You might really need to have a quality manager in terms of the project quality requirement, whether you might really use the ISO or other standards in terms of the quality measure. If you are really designer, you need a sort of a chief designers and number of designers under that. Database administrators, software team leader, software engineers, configuration librarian, and project office. You might really require if you are really working as project teams like that. So you're really communicating with your management plan, who you're gonna really do that, okay? Really needs to be here and why. This helps to ensure the information is getting to the appropriate individual. This also saves the time of the managers, only going to the meetings they need. Information can be communicated, what specific message or data is supposed to be communicated to whom, how often communication happens. Is it periodic updates or status or a one-time training or a conference? What forms of communication are required? How the message will be delivered, that the delivery medium best match the condition of the recipient. Okay, so you need to have a sort of a communication matrix, one tool used by project manager for the organization. Choose our 4 communication elements is called the communication matrix. Defining the various meetings that takes place, further defining the 4 elements around the meeting types. Second would be defining the resource to be communicated, and then defining the remaining 3 elements around the requirement of this resource. So this is a sort of an example. Meeting type, communication matrix is the owner, the frequency, the recipient, delivery medium, and deliverables. So those are the kinds of things that you really need to do. Furthermore, a typical organizational structure for that in terms of project manager, marketing specialists, electrical engineers. So you might really not really have got the skill set, but you really need to really work with these people. These are the people who really created the product you're really working on. Okay, as a project manager, you might not really have got the skill set for this one, but each group here and here will have their own team managers to really lead them. Okay, so the project assurance, what I really say, what here, it's really important part of it is the measure of quality. Okay, provide independent view of how the project is progressing is the job of project assurance. There are 3 views of assurance: the business, a user, and the specialist. Each view reflects the interest of the 3 project board members. Okay, so assurance is about checking that the project remains viable in terms of cost and benefit. This is regarding about the business case. is the business case is still here. Checking that the requirements are being met. User assurance is regarding about technical element of it. Is it fit for purpose for the users, and the projects and that the project is delivering a suitable solution. That is regarding about specialist or technical assurance, that the quality measure that you really. On some projects, the assurance is done by a separate team of people called the project assurance team, but the assurance job can be done by the individual members of project board themselves, okay, who are not really participating in your daily runnings of your project. So this is what we are really gonna talk about. For your coursework, what we're talking about is the top 3 here: executive, senior, user, senior, technical. Those are the kinds of things. You're gonna have a series of project team leaders, which you're gonna really manage as a project manager. Okay, evaluation of PPSO. You remember about we were talking about in here the program and project support office. You mean, you know, the program management which we were talking about, okay? This is regarding about multiple projects which are really going on. This program and project support office will run to support all these multiple projects. So it provides administrative support to individual project managers, sharing of support between projects in terms of expert exchanges, things like that, facilities, departments, facilitate development of skills. As I mentioned earlier, this is the place for training for junior project managers, training ground for junior project managers. Now important for coordination of programs of projects. So the programs of projects, this need to be really creating similar projects, okay? So the function of the PPCO, when you are really initiating the project, the approval process, the business case preparation, they will help you on that. Initiation, the planning, the risk management and resourcing, delivery in terms of how do you gonna go about writing a report, time recording, document library, configuration management. They're gonna provide you this support. Post-project reviews, benefit realization. Those are the kinds of things they really give you. In terms of project support further, user support coordination, use community point of contact, managing testing, okay? Seconded from user community, business support coordinator, support budget management resource, interface with parent organization. Often they will give you an accountant to manage those elements in terms of most project managers are not really equipped with the skill set of accounting. Project support, technical support coordination, technical authority, quality measure, quality assurance, long-term maintenance, both in consultants if you really, or seconded from parent organization IT department. So you need to really bring all that elements. So benefits of having PPSO, library of information on past projects, consistency approach across project, independent impartial view, encourage development special skills, center of excellence for PM techniques. So these are the key elements of it. So on this, I'm concluding my presentation. Let me know if you have got any question. Okay. Seems very quiet. Okay. Thank you for coming along. I'll see you next week. I will communicate if there is any information via Teams and email. If you have got any issues, problems, please don't raise it. If you have any questions, put it on Teams. I'm happy to respond.
Okay, thank you.